All right, my people, we have a breaking news, and this one goes beyond El-Rufai. This is about the justice system itself, because when journalists are locked out of a courtroom during a high-profile bail hearing involving a former governor, and everything is happening under tight security with restricted access, then the question is no longer just, what is El-Rufai facing? The real question becomes, what is the system trying to hide or control? Let's slow this down properly. On Wednesday, at the Federal High Court in Kaduna, journalists were denied access to the courtroom during the bail hearing of Nasir El-Rufai. Not limited access, not controlled access, denied. That is the first red flag. Because courts are supposed to be open, justice is supposed to be seen. Transparency is not optional in cases like this, especially when the person involved is a former governor facing 10-count charges, including money laundering and alleged conversion of public property. Before we go into the full details, please make sure you like this video and subscribe so you don't miss any of our premium updates here on the channel. Also, please stay with me till the end of this video because we'll be exposing a lot of hidden secrets that most mainstream media won't put in public. Now back to the news. Today, the entire court premises was under heavy security, access tightly restricted, media forced to depend on what? Lawyers' accounts. Think about that. In one of the most sensitive political cases in Nigeria right now, the public cannot see what is happening directly. They are being told what happened, not shown what happened. That is where the problem starts. Because once justice becomes something people are hearing about instead of witnessing, suspicion grows. Now, let's go deeper. El-Rufai arrived court around 9 a.m., stepped out of his vehicle at exactly 9:05 a.m. Heavy security, limited observers, proceedings continued from Tuesday. Already tense, already controlled. Now remember, Tuesday's hearing was already stalled because of legal maneuvers from the defense team. So this case is not just straightforward. There is legal back and forth. There is strategy. There is pressure. And in that kind of environment, transparency becomes even more important. But what do we see instead? Restriction, control, silence. Now let's talk about the bail hearing itself. The defense and prosecution both presented arguments. Everything was argued. Everything was submitted. And what did the court do? The court did not give immediate ruling. Instead, it adjourned ruling on the bail application to April 14th, 2026. That is another key point. Because what that means in simple terms is this. El-Rufai remains in detention. Not because bail was denied outright, but because ruling has been delayed. That delay has real consequences. Because bail is not just a legal process. It is about liberty. It is about whether someone continues to stay behind bars or not. So when a court hears arguments, concludes submissions, and then postpones a ruling for almost 2 weeks, that decision itself carries weight. Now let's connect everything together. Heavy security, journalists barred, proceedings tightly controlled, bail argued but not decided, ruling pushed forward. Defendant remains in detention. This is not just legal procedure. This is a case wrapped in tension. Now let's go deeper into what this means politically, because this is not an ordinary defendant. This is Nasir El-Rufai, former governor. Strong political voice, someone who has openly criticized the current administration, someone who has already alleged political targeting. So everything happening around this case will not be seen as neutral. That is the reality. Now add the transparency issue. Once journalists are removed from the courtroom, people start asking questions, not legal questions, political questions. Is the process fair? Is there pressure? Is something being controlled? Is the system protecting itself? Because perception matters. In a case like this, perception is almost as powerful as the legal arguments themselves. Now let's also look at timing. El-Rufai has already spent over a month in detention. That is not a short time. Then he was briefly released on compassionate grounds after the death of his mother in Cairo, then brought back into the process. Now his bail hearing is concluded, but the decision delayed. So from the outside, what people are seeing is this: long detention, high-profile charges, heavy security, restricted access, delayed bail decision. That combination creates one thing: doubt. Now let's be clear. This commentary is not saying he is guilty. This commentary is not saying he is innocent. That is the court's job. But the system itself must look credible. And right now, the biggest issue is credibility. Because justice is not just about what is done. It is about how it is seen. If people cannot see the process, they begin to question the process. Now look at what his lawyer said. He said both sides presented arguments. He said they are hopeful. He said they believe justice will prevail. That is expected. That is standard legal language. But outside that courtroom, the public is asking a different question. Why was access blocked? Because no matter how strong the legal arguments are, once transparency is reduced, trust reduces with it. Now, another detail. The defense team is also preparing for another case at the Federal High Court in Abuja on April 10th involving the DSS. So this is not just one case. This is multiple legal fronts, multiple pressures, multiple court appearances. That adds another layer, because politically it begins to look like sustained legal pressure around one individual. And again, perception. Now let's talk about the adjournment to April 14th. That date matters because it extends uncertainty. It extends detention. It extends public attention. And in high-profile cases, time itself becomes part of the story. Every extra day in detention becomes part of the political narrative. Every delay becomes part of public interpretation. Now here is the core issue. This case is no longer just about charges. It is about the system. Because three things are now happening at the same time. The legal process is ongoing. The political implications are growing and public trust is being tested. And once those three things combine, the case becomes bigger than the courtroom. Now let's bring it down to one clear reality. When journalists are barred from court, when proceedings are hidden from public view, when rulings are delayed after arguments are concluded, when a high-profile political figure remains in detention, the system must understand one thing. People will not just follow the law, they will interpret the law. And right now, many people will interpret the situation as one of two things. Either the system is being extremely careful, or the system is under pressure. That is the space this case is now sitting in. And that is a very sensitive space. Now, the final point, this is not just about El-Rufai anymore. This is about how Nigeria handles high-profile political trials. Because today it is him. Tomorrow it could be someone else. So the standard being set now matters. If transparency is reduced now, it becomes easier to reduce it again later. If access is blocked now, it becomes easier to justify it again. If delays become normal, they become expected. That is how systems evolve, slowly through repeated patterns. So my final take is this. This court session has shifted the conversation from just legal charges to institutional credibility. Because once the courtroom is no longer open, once the process is no longer visible, then justice may still be happening. But trust starts disappearing. And in a system like Nigeria's, once trust disappears, every verdict, no matter how correct, will always be questioned.
What is happening to Malam El-Rufai and Malami, former Attorney General of the Federation? Do you see it as justice, or do you consider it a political persecution by the present administration?
Yes, it is seen by most Nigerians as a political persecution, and the current leadership has clearly made it so, because these are the two shining lights of the ADC as a political party. I think while that of Malami might be seen as being necessary, that of Malam Nasir El-Rufai is unnecessary for him to have been arrested and being molested the way they are going about it. Because I was in Kaduna yesterday, I saw economic activities was completely paralyzed as a result of his court appearance. That was unnecessary because of just one man, and it will not achieve the aim. I think they made a very big mistake. You see, there's a need for people, for them to engage the services of psychologists. There are people that when you arrest them, you can make them do whatever you want. And there are some that it is not arrest. And in the case of Malam Nasir El-Rufai, arresting Malam Nasir El-Rufai will only make him to be stronger and more committed towards fighting for what he believes. But for Malami is not. You see, you have to understand the people. El-Rufai's case, there's a different thing that should have been done to him. You will render him useless. But arresting him, you make him stronger. Malami, yes, they will get what they want. Malami is a weak man. And that was why he did what he did. Weak men, when they have opportunity, they overstep their boundaries and they misbehave anyhow, accumulate in a way that accumulate things they don't need. And that was what exactly Malami did. Of course, there's a need for Malami to be persecuted. He's not even supposed to be living freely.
Executed or prosecuted?
Prosecuted, thank you. Prosecuted. He's not supposed to be living freely because he abused the law very well. So far, but in the case of El-Rufai, it's a totally different thing. So there are two different people. And El-Rufai, if he is being prosecuted, no, he's being persecuted now. And why Malami is being prosecuted? Because you know all the charges, I read the 10 charges. There was no substance in everything that was brought against Malam Nasir El-Rufai. But in the case of Malami, see the properties scattered all over the world. See the properties. What will a single human being do with all these properties? He doesn't need it. And such people should not be allowed like that. So, but what's the intention behind it? It's because if he had remained in APC, he would not be facing this. So, El-Rufai, for example, you see, politics, strategy, especially in this part of the world, can make you win election, even when people don't really like you. If you pick Konkoso, you destabilize completely the ADC. There are people that once you arrest them, you get what you want. And there are people that you call them, you plead with them. El-Rufai, all this is showing strength. If those people like that, you can beg them. The president is not an ordinary person. If the president will continue to beg him, you don't fight people like that. But for Konkoso, just arrest him. Once you arrest him, bring all the charges. Of course, you cannot be governor in Nigeria without having one or two things that you must have done wrong. Once you take him to court, within 2 to 3 days, he will step down. So there are strategies that will work. And this government, at the end of the day, again, they will have what they want. But it's not all the people you continue to arrest. Okay, now, as ordinary as I am, if you arrest me, you are wasting your time. As at the time, on the day those boys went to molest me and beat me, I knew they were around. I saw them, and I knew they were going to do what they did. But after calculating what I intend to achieve, and the loss I will encounter, that okay, they will enjoy you do all of these things. I say, okay, let me continue. If you arrest me, I feel happy while in detention because it's that kind of life I enjoy living. So now, what will you achieve if you arrest me? So El-Rufai is like that.
Does El-Rufai deserve sympathy? He was part of this government, or he's among those that made this government, and he spoke glowingly of this government until now. Do you think he deserves sympathy?
From Nigerians, he does not deserve sympathy. That's the truth of the matter. But for those of us who know him and the role he played for this government and the emergence of his successor, Obasani, you will have to pity him. He suffered. Before he was elected as governor, some few days before he became governor, I was in his house. He came. I was with his son. When he came, he was so tired and he needed to leave for Abuja again. I saw the way he was suffering. It was the same thing he did for Obasani to become governor. But look at how Obasani is paying him based on that. But for what he did as governor and the way he carried out governance, he does not, and the way he supported President Tinubu, saying good things that Tinubu, he stood firm. He doesn't deserve. But when you look at, on the other hand, that the kind of betrayal he has faced from close friends is the reason why I said, no, he doesn't deserve that. Because close friends that he sacrificed virtually everything for them, especially the governor of Kaduna State.
What do you think people say? It looks as if his karma that has come back to haunt him, because during his days as governor, people argue that he demolished houses, quarreled with traditional rulers, and allegedly polarized the state. So for some persons, his karma at work.
No, sometimes a good leader needs to step on toes. These traditional rulers we are talking about, they are majority of them are after their interest. So when you don't step on their toes, the state cannot move forward. Yes, there are houses that are actually supposed to be demolished. The only area I fault Nasir El-Rufai, because if I have opportunity, I'll do the same thing he did, but with compassion. Yes, you see, people just build houses anyhow. I live in Kaduna State, where they build houses anyhow. They don't consider the safety at all. They build houses, begin to wonder if these people are human beings. Those houses, actually, the majority are supposed to be demolished. The only area where our compassion will play in is that For those who are stark illiterate, who don't even understand anything, and they lack exposure, and they were not properly guided. Also, they have their papers. So, and they are poor people. Out of compassion, you give them another place to go and build and demolish the place. But in his own case, usually he finds out you don't have the papers, and no matter how poor you are, he doesn't care. He'll demolish, and if you like, you go to court, you see your business. No, governance is about the welfare of the people. You have to take that into consideration. You don't have to punish people, because you have to enlighten them before you can carry out whatever you want to. So El-Rufai did certain things that he stamped his authority, and that is very necessary. Like in the case of his successor now, he's a weak man. He just wants to satisfy. You don't satisfy the people, especially this part of the world where we don't want the right thing to be done. You don't do satisfy those and these kind of people. You have to stamp your authority. Let the right thing be done, not what will make them to be happy. Now you can see even on the road, okay, people misbehave anyhow. They jump out the road, see a hold up everywhere, because they know that nothing will happen. You don't do that. Yes, there are places in Kaduna before that usually they come on the road while they protest and kill people. There was a certain time Nasir El-Rufai was coming. They were protesting, he came down. And he told them, he swore by God Almighty that if you come out again to block this federal road, I will demolish all the houses there. As I speak to you up till this moment, no single protest from that day till this morning that we are speaking. So that is the kind of leader that is in there. You don't have to pamper the people, do the right thing, but what he needs to learn is there should be compassion. There was no compassion in what he was doing, and that's why a lot of people are angry with him. But there was sanity. There was a time that the Azazaki people will be moving. They completely take over a whole lane. So even if you have emergency, you cannot go. But when they have started again, because he's no longer the governor, because they know that the current governor of Kaduna State is a weak man who tries to please everybody because he wants to be re-elected. So that's not the kind of leader you need. El-Rufai, with all his flaws, I will choose El-Rufai 1,000 times over Obasani.
Now, if you say governance is all about the welfare of the people, and you've defended some of the actions of El-Rufai to be firm and all of that, can you also praise and defend Tinubu for some of his actions, which they say is also in the interest of Nigerians?
No, you see, it is, in the case of Tinubu, his handlers are the ones saying it is in the interest of Nigerians. But we Nigerians are not, we are not feeling okay. There's nothing we are enjoying in this government. For example, if he had removed, just like he removed subsidy, and then he tells us that, okay, you need to make sacrifice. And we see that the health system is working. Quality education in the country, security for lives and properties. Even if we start paying 3,000 naira per liter, I say, yes, we are making sacrifice. At least the result is there to show for it that our younger ones can go to school, maybe the primary, secondary school for free, quality education, and they are being fed even in school. You see like millions of boys and girls are roaming the streets in the north. They are begging, and nobody sees that as anything. So if, for example, after removing a fuel subsidy, we see these boys across the country are back to school, safety for lives and property, so say, yes, it is worth it. But now the government is borrowing. Subsidy has been removed. So of what use is the removal of the subsidy? So it would have been better the subsidy is paid so that we buy fuel at subsidized rates. So we are not benefiting anything. I just told in the case of El-Rufai, when he did that, now there was protection of lives and property. Still on that highway where people were always killed. A colonel was killed at the time. A colonel. We all human beings are the same, but the respect needs to be given to certain categories of people because of their sacrifice. A colonel is not an ordinary human being. So a colonel was killed on that road. People lose their lives. You see, you have vagabonds. Once they are angry, they come on the road. They just they begin to separate people who maybe based on their ethnicity or their belief and kill some, leave some. That should not be the case. El-Rufai stopped them completely. And so that is the kind of leadership I'm talking about. Let the results show for it.
Okay. If El-Rufai, for the sake of argument, if El-Rufai is jailed today or otherwise, will they not mourn him or celebrate him?
I was in Kaduna yesterday in the morning to see for myself. They are making El-Rufai more popular. And as it is now, he seems to be the leader of the North after the demise of Buhari now. And that is what this government is associated in making Nasir El-Rufai. Of course, I know El-Rufai. I know his family very well. His son in the House of Reps is my friend. I know them. That boy will never mobilize people to come, give people money to come out. See, I know him. He won't give money. So now those people came out. The whole of that premises, they were chanting Semala, Semalam, and that they say God will bring you out. You are making him more popular. So now they will mourn him, and it's going to be almost impossible to even jail him because they have not tidied work very well. So it's almost impossible to jail him. The best would be for them to quickly release him. But for Malami,